Hello, and welcome to Film Slam Screen's post-film conversation for Grumpy Shark. My name is Eric Siler, and I'm an instructor of film, media arts, and communications, as well as moderator for this conversation. We're very pleased to be joined by the director of Grumpy Shark, John Maslowski. Hello, John, and welcome.
Hi, Eric. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here to talk about this wonderfully animated film. So I understand you have a background in law, but you turned to a filmmaker. How did that happen? How do you go from,
Yeah,
turning to a filmmaker?
that's a good question. Well, yeah, I was an attorney, and then fortunately, I was able to retire, and I started doing some acting as an extra. Then I started to do, some lead roles, and then I went to a festival and I got inspired, and I started making live action films. And then I started with the animation 2, 3 years ago. So it was just a progression, and I'm not doing this for money for anything. It's just to hopefully entertain some people, and it's fun to do. So it's
Indeed, it is fun to do, and this film was fun to watch. Give us the backstory on this film. How did you come up with the idea? Why did you
yeah.
decide to make it?
That's a good question as well. Um, well, I wanted to make something animated. I knew that, and I wanted to make something, with an animal. And I like to make my current films. I like to make, have some humor in it. So I was just thinking of those three elements, and I don't really know how I came up with it. To tell you the truth, it just I don't know. Like, I don't sit down at a desk and say, all right, what should I make? It's like I see something or I hear something, and that triggers the spark.
I see. So you knew you had an idea. You wanted to do something with an animal, a shark, and you decided to have a young girl in there and a seahorse. So the concept of the story was that the friendship between the girl and the seahorse, and they kind of, I guess, put the shark in his place. Am I
Yeah,
getting it?
in a safe way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. Uh, you decided not to use dialogue. Why didn't you actually
Yeah,
get a
I
written
do
script
that
for
for a
this?
few reasons. I mean, all my animated films, I don't have dialogue. One reason is, I've seen silent films, old silent films, and current silent films, and I think in a way, it's more powerful to have dialogue, to have the characters, body language, portray what they're feeling. And I also do it because it's cost effective. I don't have to hire a voice actor.
I see. Yeah, that's really good to keep in mind for our budding filmmakers out there, how to be cost effective. Speaking of cost effective, take us through the steps in getting this film completed.
Yeah.
You- uh,
Um, my first couple films, animated films, I made on my iPhone, and they were really good. I mean, I thought so, and they were fun and they did well on the festival circuit. But I always like to do something different on every film. And like I said, I'm not an animator. I can't even draw like a stick figure, basically. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna find a professional animator. And I went online and I was looking for an animator, and I found one gentleman in Colorado. He was 18 years old and he charged $100 an hour. So that was, too pricey for me. So I went to a website called Fiverr, and you could hire people to do different tasks. And I found a gentleman in India who was super nice, and we clicked on the interview. And so basically, I just wanted it to have more of a professional look, and his pricing was very reasonable.
so the concept, how did you communicate the concept with your animator? Did you draw stick
Yeah,
figures, or how did
yeah, I probably didn't do it in the most efficient way, in the sense that, like, I didn't have storyboards it was kind of like we would go online, on Zoom, and I would say, well, let's try this scene, let's try that scene. And he would come back, and I'm like, all right, let's change this, let's change that. Like I said, it's probably not the most efficient, traditional way, but it worked. It worked very well.
Okay, it did. So that occurred first, and then you scored the film afterwards?
Yeah, the same gentleman who, oh no, for this one, I hired a music composer, and same thing. I went on the website Fiverr, like $5 bill, and I found another gentleman in India who's a music composer. Yeah, and I just emailed him the film, and he composed the music, and yeah, it was very efficient.
Well, that's great. So did you give much direction to the music composer as to when to increase the
No, I
sound?
gave very little. I just said, this is the emotion that's going on with the girl at this time, and this is the emotion, what the shark is doing. So I gave him very little direction. I said, hey, just do what you think would work. And fortunately, I mean, first time around, he didn't really make too many. I didn't have too many changes to the music.
Yeah, and what about the sound effects? Did that same person do the sound
Yeah,
effects?
the sound effects were done by the animator.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And what about the editing? Was that done by the
That
animator?
was also done by the animator. Yeah, he did a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. How has this film been received? What have people been telling you about this film?
I mean, fortunately, it's done well. I had it on the festival circuit, and it got accepted, to a lot of festivals, and it won some awards. And people seem to like it. Unfortunately, with COVID, I wasn't in a situation where I could watch it with other people. So, but like I said, it did well on the festival circuit, and it won some awards.
That's great. Um, in terms of animations, are you a fan of animation? If so, what type of animations do you like?
Yeah, I mean, I've always, since I was a kid, just always been into film. And yeah, I mean, I just liked animated films. I mean, when I was a little kid, I mean, oh my gosh, I would watch, Bugs Bunny. I would just watch that all the time. So, that was just always been ingrained in me. I mean, that was a big part of my childhood. I was really into it. And then, you get older and you lose interest in it, but now it got rejuvenated.
If you had to do this film again, would you do anything differently, or do you feel it came out exactly as you wanted it to?
Um, I think it came out exactly as I wanted to. I mean, the only thing I might have changed is made it a little bit longer, but I like my films are all short films. I don't make feature length films. So I just like really short films. I mean, I've made a film that was 60 seconds, and my longest film was probably 6 minutes. So I like short, concise.
Have you acted in any of your films that you've made?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. No, I haven't. No.
Oh, well, there you go, baby. Had to bring you back in one of the films you starred.
Yeah, I could do voiceover and charge myself a good rate. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you mentioned you act. What is there anything we may have seen you in, or had they been mostly in the?
Um, well, I've been, all local films, like not, these aren't like Hollywood or Netflix films, all local films. Um, I think some of them, I'm trying to think if one or two of them screened at the Cleveland Festival. Some of them screened at other local festivals. And there is one film that I'm in that is on Amazon, actually. That's a full length film, and I was an actor in that. That's on Amazon. But most of them, were local film festivals.
What type of roles have you taken on in these films?
I've done a couple different types. I've done a decent amount of horror films. Horror films seem to be a popular genre in Cleveland. So I've done some horror films. I've done some, drama films. I've done some comedies. So a little bit of everything.
Okay, that's good. Um, are you working on a project now or any films
At
now?
the current moment, I'm not, but after I made Grumpy Shark, I made two films. And like I said, I want to do something different every time. So the first one I made was a stop action. I found a nice person in Italy. I met her on Instagram and she did it. And then I found another person in India and he did 3D animation, which is a lot more expensive and a lot more complicated. But they both came out, well, I think. And then, like I said, at the moment, I'm not working on anything. And I've also written screenplays in the past, so that's something I've done that I found enjoyable.
So, out of your working in the arts, acting and voiceover and animation and live action, do you have a particular favorite part of the whole art?
Yeah, people have asked me that. That's a tough question because I enjoy it all, but I think right now I enjoy the animation the most.
Well, why is that?
Well, for a few reasons. One, it's animation, so you could do anything. You could have any special effect you want. You could have dragons. You could do anything you want. So it's unlimited. So it gives you a lot of freedom as to what you could show. And I kind of like working closely with the animators. I developed a good friendship with this one gentleman, and I like the relationships I form with the animators. Um, and in a way, I mean, it's not in a way, it is cheaper than doing live action films. Because I don't have a whole crew, I just have the animator, so it's cost effective.
Exactly. So, what advice would you give? We have students that are watching this, and they probably are just admiring you. Wow, can do it all. What advice would you give to them based on your experience if they really want to enjoy working in film? Should they act? Should they go into animation? Just for your opinion. What?
Yeah. Well, we live in a wonderful time in the sense that you can make a good film on your phone. So if you want to make a film, just pick up your phone and shoot something. And, to me, that's a film. And if you want to have actors, ask your friends to be the actors. I think it's good to do a little bit of everything. If you can, I think it's good to do a little acting and to do a little directing with live action and try a little animation, see what you like the most. But, I probably made 20 films on my iPhone and they all got into festivals. Most of them won awards. So if you want to do something, just pick your phone up and shoot. That's it. That's what I did.
Okay, just shoot. And what about the preparation, the studying of the craft and learning? You had to do something there?
No, I didn't go to film school or anything. I think I went to film school in the sense that I've been watching films my entire life. So, I saw scenes and different things. So I didn't go to formal film school. I mean, if you can, that's great. I mean, some of the best directors out there went to film school. I mean, Spike Lee, but there's a lot of film directors. Quentin Tarantino, he did not go to film school. So I think, part of it is trial and error. Just shoot something and see if you like it. And like I said, you could do it with your phone. I mean, there are Hollywood movies that have been made on iPhones. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. That is very true. Who do you look up to in the industry in terms of acting, directing?
Yeah. As far as acting, I really like Christian Bale because he's done so many different genre of movies. I really admire, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino for acting. For directing, I really, look up to Martin Scorsese because his films are just so realistic and just so real world. And I also like Quentin Tarantino because, he sort of has his own style a little bit, and he's a little like wacky, so that attracts me.
Well, nice variety there. Well, John Maslowski, thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule to talk to us about your work and your film. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you to our audience for joining us for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about our upcoming film festival, please visit us at clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Siler. Thank you.